Aesthetics is an interesting type of market and very unique within therapeutics in that you have a setting where it applies to a whole range of demographics, and the demographics are expanding. It used to be the purview of wealthier customers. That's no longer the case. It used to be the purview of older customers. That is no longer the case. There are younger and younger people that are getting treatments. It used to be the purview of primarily women. That is less and less the case. There are plenty of men that where aesthetics it can have real appeal. So the markets are just growing, and what that means is that we're in a period where over the next decade or so we're going to continue to see steady growth, steady consumer demand, steady growth in consumer demand for these products, especially as the technologies improve. When we talk about medical aesthetics, typically we talk about the face. Certainly, a lot of what we've seen in aesthetics and the boom in aesthetics started with Botox, which was really a revolutionary treatment, but we've seen steady growth not only in Botox, or what I would call neuromodulators, that's the class, but also dermal fillers, and over time now we're starting to see movement to other parts of the body. Body contouring is something that is also now in vogue. So there's a great deal of demand, consumer demand, for aesthetic treatments. Within the aesthetic space, what I'm looking at are approvals of new neuromodulators for the treatment of facial wrinkles. Now, Botox has been the dominant player for a very long time. However, there are other companies that are developing their own neuromodulators, and they're appealing to different segments of the market or trying to grow the overall market. For instance, there's a company called Revance Therapeutics, which is developing what they believe is a longer-acting neuromodulator that potentially can last a few months longer than Botox and potentially may require fewer injections per year for treatments per year. So that's a product that could be on the market sometime in 2020. You have a company called Analyst, which is developing another neuromodulator, and it's hard to know where that's going to fit in. It's not positioned as a long-acting product, but what's interesting about these different options is that they could appeal to different segments of the market. And I'm not saying that Botox is not going to be dominant going forward, but potentially we could see lower cost options for patients where price, where affordability is an issue. Then there are premium products. I think Revance is trying to position itself as a premium product for patients who want a, quote, premium experience where you are getting, instead of 3 or 4 months duration, maybe you get 5 or 6 months of effect. So there are some changes. On the surface, it would appear that there are changes at the margins in terms of the neuromodulator class. But over time, over the next few years, it's going to be more crowded. Allergan is still going to have a dominant position. I mean, that Botox is not going away by any stretch. However, it's going to be a more crowded landscape, and that is definitely a sea change compared to what we've seen over the last decade or so. And these are consistent double-digit growth markets. You can say that for neuromodulators. You can say that for dermal fillers. You can say that for body contouring. And so in that context, I think there'll continue to be a healthy IPO market for promising aesthetic technologies. I think there'll continue to be M&A. One of the reasons I think we'll continue to see M&A is that it's a consumer-leaning, consumer-focused market, and so you don't have to deal with the issues of managed care and reimbursed products. And as we know, the payer landscape has become more restricted, so that's not something you have to deal with in the aesthetic space. And these are generally more durable assets. Generally speaking, you don't have to worry about patent expiries and generic exposure and the kind of things that can decimate a brand product franchise. You just don't see that in aesthetics. So these are durable, cash pay markets. That means there's going to be continue to be an IPO market for promising aesthetic technologies, and I also think that you'll continue to see M&A appetite here, just given the dynamics that I laid out.